how to harvest your onions. Now my onions did go in very late this year, but they've done okay. I've got no massive ones. I wasn't expecting any massive ones, but I thought if they just grow a bit, then wonderful. So they have. They've been growing really quite well. Okay, yes, they're small, but they've done much better than I expected. You know when your onions are ready because the tops start to go brown and they fall over. Not the onions themselves, but the tops will go over. Once that happens, then your onions won't grow anymore and you need to take them up and let them dry. Now, it's very easy to harvest your onions, so let me show you how I do mine. Here are my onions. You can either get hold of them and just pull them up, but be careful when you do that because you might actually, if you're harvesting your onions late and they've already started to go brown round here, then you might find that you might end up pulling the stem off and leaving the bulb inside. So what I usually do is I usually get my trowel and I just put my trowel into the soil just a little away, about an inch away from the onion, carefully push it down, pull it back, and the onion should come up nice and easily. So there's one, and as you can see, yes, they are a little bit on the small side, but they haven't had their full growing season. So it's not too bad, considering I am really quite pleased. I wasn't expecting them to get anywhere near that size at all. So what I'm going to do is I'll harvest them all and I'll show you what I've got and then I'll come back to you. Well, I've just harvested my onions and I am really pleased. I'm sure that many of you out there will have onions that are much larger than mine, but size isn't everything. Flavour is the most important thing. I have some very small ones that don't seem to have grown a huge amount. Don't discard these, because what you can do is you can roast these whole with a load of other vegetables or under chicken. So just cut off the roots and cut off the top and roast them in their skins, and they're really nice. So don't throw away any little ones. Obviously you can't cut them. I mean, you can if you want, but they are a bit fiddly. And I've got lots that are sort of middly size. And then I came across these two, which I was really pleased with. Nice pair there, aren't they? Aren't they wonderful? So yes, they're the sort of size that I normally harvest. So I am stunned actually by the size. I'm very pleased with the size that I have. Now, you can either plat these if you have the patience to do that. I do not. Or you can just store them. But before you do either of those, you need to make sure that they are thoroughly dried, because they are still quite sort of, the outside is quite damp. And if you plat these together, or if you put these in a Hessian bag now, then they will start to rot. Before you start to store these, make sure that you go through them, and any that have got any cuts or they're soft and they're starting to go bad, don't plat those or don't store those, because one bad one will set off and ruin the rest of them. So what you need to do is you need to just leave the stems on. Don't bother taking the stems off. Just lie them in a frost-free place, a garage, if you've got space in your greenhouse. I don't have space in my greenhouse, but I've got a room that I can put them in, which is fine, and leave them on a tray or on a sort of a grate for at least 4 weeks. And then they should, in the 4 weeks, dry out beautifully. You'll know when they're dried because the outside, they'll feel dry on the outside. This one feels damp on the outside. You can eat them straight away. You don't have to dry them before you eat them. So if you put them somewhere to dry out, you can still keep using them. It's absolutely fine. So what I will do with these is I will dry them, and then I will, if there are any left after 4 weeks, I doubt if there will be because there's not a huge amount here, then I usually store mine in a Hessian bag because I can't be bothered to plat them because I don't have the patience. But those are my onions, so I'm really pleased. Well, I hope you're harvesting your onions. You may well have harvested yours already. Make sure you get them in before it absolutely starts throwing it down with rain and before it starts to get cold. So July, August time is usually the best time, but you, as I say, you will know when they need to be harvested because the tops will start to go brown and then they'll droop over. So there we go. Well, that's my onions. I hope you enjoy your onions. I tend to find that onions that I've grown myself are much stronger and they tend to make me cry when I cut them. Normal onions don't. So there might be a few tears when I start to use these. But anyway, well, I hope you found that useful and I look forward to seeing you soon. Bye-bye.